Former WWE wrestler Gail Kim signed with TNA last week. Dixie said,
"We are extremely excited to have Gail Kim join our organization," said Dixie Carter, president of TNA Wrestling, in a prepared statement issued to PW Torch. Gail is not only an accomplished athlete, but a bona fide international star. We look forward to introducing our latest TNA Knockout on one of our upcoming Impact programs that debuts on Spike TV on October 1st.
So the best women's wrestler in the history of the company, and one of the best
women's wrestler in North America.
She sure is up there.
TNA Knockout.
They are using that branding at this stage, which ties in with like Slam and Saturday Nights and the Spike TV and the UFC stuff, like the TNA Knockouts.
I get it.
That all like ties together, but
I never got that until right now.
It's a dual meaning because they hit people and they're attractive.
Yes, they are a knockout, as you would say.
They're the two-pitched knockouts. It's a famous phrase. Very
famous.
But yeah,
thank God. Of course, let's do it.
There is only one other woman on these shows at the moment. It's Tracy.
Yes, but as we know through history, the knockouts became a major selling point for what differentiated WWE's programming from TNA's programming. So getting Gail in, one of the people who, exemplifies that, is the start of it.
And not only exemplifies it, who actively petitioned for and pestered for and campaigned for until it happened.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the case that's we'll bring in Gail and start a women's division. They're we'll bring in Gail and we want more women on the show. They bring in Jackie Gaeta as well. They do actively want more women on the show, but it doesn't become a real division until Gail actively campaigns for it for another 2 years.
And then, continues to this day being a part of it.
Yeah, she is the best women's wrestler in the history of the company. She is the face of the Knockouts division, probably still to this day in a lot of ways. She still carries that banner forward into the future. This is again, we're talking about monumental times in TNA history. Would Gail be a top 5 most important signing in TNA history?
I was literally just thinking that. Kurt's number 1.
Yeah.
AJ.
I guess.
Well, just historically. Jeff.
Hardy or Jarrett?
Hardy.
I guess. But
maybe Sting 3.
I would put Sting ahead of Hardy because if you look at if Jeff Hardy never went to TNA ever, would TNA be a lot worse off? I don't really think so.
Yeah, it's probably Kurt, AJ, Sting,
then maybe Gail. Maybe Gail.
Yeah. And then Orlando Jordan.
Yeah, Orlando Jordan. With his cum scenes coming on himself.
Sorry?
He comes on himself.
Wow.
There's a segment in 2010 TNA where he walks out with a bottle of white liquid and starts pouring it on himself.
What could it mean?
What could it mean? And if you're doing our Mount Rushmore of TNA and you don't include Gail Kim, you have the wrong Mount Rushmore of TNA.
Go off, King.
TNA will not tape programming immediately following the September 11th Unbreakable pay-per-view. The TV taping that would have occurred on September 13th to provide broadcasts on September 16 and 23 is no longer scheduled, leaving TNA without programming until the Spike TV debut. TNA will hold its next television taping on September 27th to tape the first 2 episodes for Spike, and they will tape every second week going forward.
Mm-hmm. Good work.
They'll also not continue airing programming on its website. It's the end of the internet era.
Okay. I have no strong opinions about that.
They'll air some best ofs in syndication for the last few Fridays. But yeah, that's the real player era. The U-Torrent era is over.
Not for me.
That's true. How else would you watch it, I guess?
Yeah.
It's always an internet era to us.
It's the internet wrestling community after all.
Samoa Joe told Bill Banks of TNAWrestling.com that he chose TNA over WWE because he didn't fit WWE's laundry list of qualities while TNA offered him an opportunity to wrestle his style. I felt the only reason they wanted to offer me anything was to have me sit on the sidelines instead of becoming competition in TNA, Joe said. That's fine, but I wanted to wrestle. If there's a way I like to wrestle and do things in the ring, I'd rather do it for TNA and be happy instead of somewhere else miserable.
Perfect.
And speaking of Joe, his Bound for Glory opponent, Jushin Liger, is advertised for the October 23 Bound for Glory pay-per-view. No opponent has been named. It's Samoa Joe.
And it's not disappointing.
It's still a pretty good.
I mean, it's cool, but it's not what it could have been.
Yeah, it's 8 minutes, and I think it ended up being that short because of miscommunication. I believe there was a story at the time that they were meant to go longer. But Jerry Lynn was backstage at the TNA pay-per-view working as an agent, but plans for in-ring wrestling have been derailed after Waltman no-showed Unbreakable. So they were meant to go back to that program naturally based on the angle they shot at the last pay-per-view, but they didn't, because Waltmaned it.
He Waltmaned it up.
We talked about TNA having a little trial with Eurosport earlier the year. TNA signed a 1-year contract with Eurosport, basically Europe's version of ESPN. The station reaches 54 countries in Europe and the Middle East, but is strongest in the UK, Scandinavia, France, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Poland, and Greece.
Wow, TNA's going worldwide.
Which is your favorite country in that group?
I'm a Spain guy.
Big fan of the Spaniards?
Here comes the Spain.
You gonna go to Spain sometime? Mr. I'm professional. Mr. No more bits. And then he drops the phrase, here comes the spade, in the middle of the podcast.
You haven't taken our mid-podcast break yet, okay?
He can't take you anywhere. He won't give you the Dixie impression, but he'll give you here comes the spade.
I'm a new man.
TNA test marketing the idea of doing house shows, as well as the idea of doing a Canadian house show tour with a September 15th show in Windsor, Ontario.
They should bring CM Punk.
Promoted by Scott D'Amore. Listen, they'll do very well in Hamilton, Ontario with CM Punk. D'Amore's last show drew a sellout of 1,900 fans, but that was largely due to Bret Hart doing a Hart Foundation reunion with Jimmy Neidhart and Jimmy Hart. The main matches are Raven versus Jeff Jarrett.
No.
For the NWA World Heavyweight title.
I know what that is.
I wonder could anything happen with that particular
I know what that is.
Wonder what could be going on there.
Oh, I saw the top 50 TNA moments. I know what that is, Garrett.
Real weird that they're doing the Jarrett Raven match everyone's been waiting for on a Scott D'Amore house show. I wonder what's going on there.
Oh, it's just for the live fans.
Christopher Daniels versus Chris Sabin for the X title.
Oh, I love AMW. They would never betray me in any way.
Yeah, and a best of 5 US versus Canada series, with 4 of the matches being Rude versus Abyss, PD versus Jerry Lynn, A1 versus Rhino, and Johnny Devine and Eric Young versus America's Most Wanted. Interesting, they're working that show too, huh?
Why? Oh god, oh no, oh god. No. I know.
News notes preceding unfortunate events, I believe is what you call this.
Fuck. Is the footage of that whole show available?
I haven't looked for it. I know the footage of the title change is available. Not that there would ever be a title change on this show.
I'll send Scott D'Amore a DM, see if we can get it.
I'm sure they did shoot all those BCW shows, so I'm sure that it's somewhere.
Well, we're gonna find that out. I think we need to review it as the only and the best TNA history pod. It's our duty. You don't want to see A1 versus Rhino?
I do want to see that match.
Exactly. So we have to go out of our way for it.